It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
All of us, most of us have worked all our lives, my friends, to save for that rainy day, as they say. And so sometimes we have money and we need to be very careful as to where we invest our money, what we do with our money. So when it comes to financial advice, here's a person who's been on the show before. Over a quarter of a century he's been around. His credibility is there. You could check on him. He has clients that are willing to testify to what he's done for them. And I'm talking about Blaise Greco. Blaise Greco is a financial advisor. I'm going to put his number on the screen. There's no obligation, as he says, for a little conversation to invest your money or whatever. So Blaise, thanks for coming on the show again.
Thank you for having me, Sammy.
As I mentioned, a quarter of a century. Now you have a real estate license as well, okay? Yeah. So that means that you're in Florida, you're here in Hazleton, in this area, so you're able to take care of people's needs. And I think that's very interesting, isn't it? Let's talk about what's new and exciting today. And I know we could spend hours on this, but let's talk about, like, for example, annuities and no risk and the guarantees.
You know, annuities, the annuity business has just gotten better and better, and the products have gotten more competitive, and the companies have gotten more competitive. And that in turn makes better buys for the consumer. And in the light of what we're in, whether you're very confident in what's going on or you're not confident, the annuities continue to offer guarantees, upside, to make money and no downside. As we spoke, some work like CDs in the simplest form. Others are tied to an index where you can make more money. But at the end of the day, you have guarantees and you have no risk. And you have peace of mind. And it's a great place for some of your assets. As I've said on the show before, not all of your assets, some of your assets. It depends what kind of position that you're in.
Well, let's talk about a person. Let's say somebody has $100,000, that they want to play with, or not play with, but they want to invest, or $200,000. And they want to make sure that they're going to be comfortable, okay? What advice would you give them?
Now, you're saying on a very conservative basis?
Yeah, like absolutely.
Okay.
When you're in your 60s or 70s, you just don't want to take chances. You want to be guaranteed of what you're...
Well, we're in a very low interest environment now, okay? I was on your show about a year and a half ago. We talked about, we had some good fixed interest rates at the time. The interest rate has slid a little bit. But the point is, every day, I'm inundated with different companies that I broker through that I can get these rates. So, my point is I can beat the bank. I can beat anybody. So people could get a good fixed interest rate for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10, depending on what they want. I usually work with 3, 5, and 7, guaranteed. And at the end of that time period, we look for another company and look for the best rate. So we're always shopping the best rate. So that's assuming they just want to go with something very simple, like a CD type thing. We'd work with that type of annuity. Now, the indexed annuities, which we've talked about, not to confuse people, they're basically tied to an index, but you're not directly invested in that index. So you're sharing with the insurance company profits, and you have the upside potential to get a better rate of return. I've had some people in fixed indexed annuities, as an example, that have gotten 8.57, 5.57. Now, these are people that would have been happy with 3.5% or 4%.
Yes.
Okay, but because in light of the market and the different allocations, now they had no downside. So, I understand for somebody that's in the stock market saying, well, I'm getting 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, do you think it's going to continue and keep up forever? The point is, it's a nice, stable product, period, with no downside. I keep repeating that, folks. No downside. No downside. No, you can't lose money. There's no downside.
Okay, so if your closest friend or your family would say to you today, Blaise, I want to invest $100,000 that are just sitting around doing nothing for me, what would you put them in?
If that's all the money they had?
Yeah, $100,000.
And they have it doing nothing right now?
Doing nothing.
Well,
and this is a family member.
Well, I would either take that 100 and split it up maybe two ways. Maybe go with the FIA, which is the type I talked about for the potential for more growth with no downside, and take the other 50 and put it in something that's conservatively fixed, where they're getting, say, 3.5%,
okay,
3.75. The market changes constantly, 3.25, guaranteed for 5 years. Here at the end, you're signing a contract. At the end of 5 years, we're going to give you all your money back plus the compounded interest. No risk at all. That's what I would do.
The last time we did the show, a friend of mine said, well, there's fees involved.
Yeah.
Okay. And I thought I didn't remember what you said.
Let's clear it up.
Yeah.
Once and for all, like, because I know you even mentioned that he said it to you again.
Yeah.
So on fixed and fees, okay, currently there are no fees to the client. Zero. Nothing. They see nothing come out of their account. There's no 12B1 fees. Now, the only thing I could think that your friend may be talking about is a variable annuity. And a variable annuity, which is largely sold by stock brokerage firms, are usually loaded up with a whole bunch of different fees. What I have right now has no fees. I get paid from the insurance company, okay? And then that's how I get paid. So the client has no fees. Now, I will say, and I don't want to get off on, I just want to say this. We have 2 or 3 very recognizable companies now that are coming out with fee-based FIA annuities, and they're making the investment return more attractive. And this is largely to compete with the variable side. So now you can go to a client that's saying, well, I'm in my variable annuity, I got X amount of money, I earned X amount. Okay, well, here, I have the same option for you with no downside, but you're going to pay a fee. But there's only 1 or 2 companies doing it. I have hundreds of companies. Mm-hmm. And by the way, folks, I want to tell you right here and now, I'm going to say this on the show, because I've been want to be nice about it and not say, there's nobody that can beat me with the annuity market. Nobody. I will meet or exceed anybody that's out there. That's a fact.
And when you talk about that, okay, you talk about credibility. And that's why I mentioned in the beginning, people are concerned today about the shysters and people who just, so a quarter of a century you've been doing this, and you have clients, not every client, but some clients, look, I've been very happy. I know, I said to you prior to the show, if I have a doctor who's been great with me, I'm more than happy to sing his praises or her praises. If I have an attorney who's been great, I'm more than happy to sing their praises because I know what they've done. And you have people who would do that for you.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's clients that are very, very, to themselves, but there's also clients that would always say to me that I know would be willing to, if that's what somebody needs, to have the name of somebody, and they're all kind of people from, white collar, successful lawyers, doctors, accountants, to regular blue collar people and everything in between. If that's what somebody's concern is, I could give them a lot of people that they can talk to and say, has he done well by you?
What's the most common question that you get when someone's willing to do something with their money? What do they ask you?
Well, in my case, and that's why I've been so excited about what I do and I continue to be involved, is Blaise, could I lose my money? And Blaise, I don't want to lose my money. So, so that's the beauty of what I'm doing. I don't have to worry. When we had the COVID came in last March, I think it was 2020, 1 year, when the market took that hit and it went down to 18 something. And I tell my friends, and I have a lot of broker friends, I say, I didn't get one phone call because I didn't have to deal with that. Yeah. I didn't have nobody that, and people were worried. I mean, thank God it came back like it did. But I mean, there was a lot of people that were concerned. When I'm shopping something and I'm looking for a particular product, I'm putting a call into several field marketing organizations and brokerage houses and saying, hey, this is what I got. And then I have somebody getting back to me saying, this is what I can give you. And at the end of the day, it's all about the client and getting the best rate and finding the fit. That's another misconception too, folks. When people just take annuity and brush it with a broad paintbrush, no. I mean, there's so many annuities and so many types that do so many different things, and they're, it's not one size fits all. So for somebody to say, that they know annuities as well as I do is it wouldn't be a fair statement. There's a lot to know, and you're learning every day. 58 years old, and I learned something last week. I was like, wow, you got to be kidding me! I never heard of that. Yeah. And the guy goes, don't worry about it. Most people didn't.
Yeah. Folks, I'm talking to Blaise Greco, financial advisor, 570-401-6008. Any questions you have, there's no fee or etc. The word is trust. And believe me, in today's times, when you get 5-6 calls a day from scams that are trying to scam you, etc., you're very much concerned about who you turn to and who you trust. Blaise has been around for over a quarter of a century. He has the experience. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. 24/7, SSPTV.com. 21 local neighborhood shows we produce. And I got to thank a lot of people during this COVID situation. Our local programming ratings have been going through the roof. And tells me that we're doing the things that you want, providing you with local information versus the nonsense that sometimes that we have on television. I appreciate that very much. My guest today is Blaise Greco. He's a financial advisor, been around for over a quarter of a century. Life insurance, annuities, wealth production advice, pension rollovers, investments. We all are concerned about what we have earned throughout the years and worked hard for it. And today, Blaise is on the show to tell you some of the things you may be helpful to you. The beauty of tax deferral.
Yeah, and so annuities are always tax deferred, and that could be a real helpful thing. It was particularly helpful when we had the inflation and interest rates were so high, because people were getting all these crazy rates, but then they go report to their accountant and have to claim all this interest. So a lot of people still like the tax deferral of an annuity, plus they like the idea that it's sort of sheltered, if you will. It doesn't always come out in certain financial planning that people may be doing where, do you have any 1099 income? Well, that don't fall under 1099 income. And depending on the way that you have it set up. So it just, I don't want to get in on because you could spend a lot, but the point is the tax deferral of annuity could be beneficial in multiple ways, not only in saving taxes for certain people, but also maybe helping them to acquire a particular product. Again, I don't want to get off, I could get off on a whole nother, but just let's leave it at that it could be helpful. Questions need to be answered. People need to ask, well, what do you mean? Come in and have a conversation with me, and I'll give you 15 or 20 ideas of how it could help you.
Guaranteed income riders, joint income, increasing income.
Okay, so this is the other point I want to make with an annuity. So for the guy that has loads of money, boatloads of money, and feels he can never outlive his money, I would say, in my professional opinion, that a guaranteed income rider is not for that person, okay? But what I tell people is these annuities, I run into people that'll say to me, Blaise, I have this money that I'm going to roll over with you, and I have my Social Security. Or I have this money that I'm going to move, and my Social Security and a very small pension, and I fear outliving my money. Now, when I hear that, okay, I think about a guaranteed income rider, because basically what it is, guaranteed income rider and joint income is, you say to me, I have this $250,000, but I don't want to outlive it. So we look for an annuity, we shop it out, and we look for something as a guaranteed income rider and see what will give Sam the highest payout on that guaranteed income. And then you may say to me, well, I want to be sure my wife is covered. So we could do a joint. That's what we mean by joint. So they pay you, something happens to you, they pay Debbie. Okay, so the point is a guaranteed joint income rider is very good in a particular situation. And don't let me just say, it can be good with somebody that has wealth. Sometimes somebody will say, well, I just want to diversify. I like that idea. Because there's no guessing. It's just a contract, and it's done, it's set, and you have access to the money. And some of these contracts you can get at all the money, because it's another second question that comes up. And again, I don't want to get off on this, but well, what if something happens and I need, you could still get at your lump sum of your money?
Again, everything we're talking about, these things have to be tailor-made to the individual person, okay?
Yes.
So, I mean, so what we're doing today is giving them a broad scope of all the areas you cover. Nursing homes, for example.
Okay, so when we talk about nursing homes, there are some of these annuity products that have what they call doublers on them, nursing home doublers. So if you had a guaranteed income rider on your annuity, let's just say for argument's sake you're getting $2,000 a month, and you have to go to a nursing home, and or you can't perform 2 of the daily living. Now it depends, because not every company does both. Some companies do both, some companies just do one. They will take the money, why they call it a nursing home doubler, and say we're now going to pay Mr. Lesante $4,000 a month for a limited number of years. It's usually the max of 5 years. And then they'll go back to the money that they were paying you, the $2,000. Again, I don't want to get complicated, but there are companies that have these doublers, and they're attractive to people that don't have any type of nursing home, which most people don't, because it's prohibitively expensive. They can't afford it. Now, you don't buy this annuity with the idea that you're going to use it for a nursing home, because that's not what, that's like a bell and whistle. That's something special that's on there. And again, it's a limited resource of companies that do this. But the point is, it's available, and it's pretty attractive. And for somebody that doesn't have anything, it can be good. And when you take the two of the ADLs, you take a guy that's at home, and they could pay that money to him on a monthly basis at home. That's pretty damn nice.
The other thing is, this is so in general, life insurance in general. Okay, this is a whole nother area, chapter, okay?
10 chapters.
Yeah, it's like there's so many things that could be done with life insurance, terms, cheap and expensive term insurance.
Great things that could be done.
Let's talk about some of them.
Well, here's the thing. Let me make a general statement. When I've been in since my 20s, since my early days with MetLife. Life insurance is a dirty word, right? People don't want to talk about it. Most people don't like it, don't want to hear about it. Life insurance. Yet, I'm here to tell you, folks, the older I get, the more I realize it's one of the greatest tools to pass on wealth, to do great things, to accumulate wealth. There's just so many things that could be done. Now, you say, in general terms, first of all, real quick, I want to touch on term insurance is just pure coverage. I'm just going to take not even 30 seconds. I can get anybody, any age, I mean, regardless of health in certain situations, the cheapest term policy, that's just pure insurance. But that's not what we're talking about here. When we're talking about life insurance and you say, give a couple examples. When you talk about, let's use this as an example. Let's use this. I was talking to young Sam before to show you, but it's a hell of a, I just given him an example. Let's say that I come to you and I talk to you and you say, I have this $500,000, right? And you tell me, I said, what are you going to do with that money? I'm not doing nothing with it. Give it to my kids someday, you know? And you come up with this a lot. But I mean, don't you have any future plans? No, giving it to my kids. Nothing else, not putting a roof on my house, not giving it to my kids. Okay, how's your health? You say to the guy. Pretty good. How's your wife's health? Pretty good. Now I say, if I could show you possibly a way where you could take that $500,000, remove it from your estate, make it free from any incumbents from anybody getting at it by setting up either a trust or putting in adult children as the ownership. And then we could pass $1 million on tax-free and give young Sammy $500,000 upon your and Debbie's demise, and then give Janine $500,000 tax-free, avoidance of probate. Does that sound like something that might interest you? And you're
if I had $500,000, I'd be talking about it.
Right, and you're going to say yes. And the funny thing is when you tell people it's life insurance, they're in awe because they have no idea of all the beautiful things. The only people that have these ideas are people that are out talking to financial planning attorneys and they're saying, I recommend this, I recommend that. So there's so many things. You're building up cash value In whole life insurance, it can act as a bank for you. The money grows tax deferred, and it goes on and on and on. You need a lot of time to talk about it.
Folks, I'm talking to Blaise Greco, financial advisor, 570-401-6008. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Hope you're learning something today about your finances.
Buy-sell agreements, okay? Yeah. This has been something that's amazed me. You've had one with John, and you had it funded.
Right.
Okay, so since I'm a young man, I'd run into business people. And business people, open your eyes and ears and listen to this and talk to your friends about this. And you say to them, you have a buy-sell agreement. What's that? You have a buy-sell agreement? Yeah. You have one? Yeah, I do. Yeah. When did you review it last? Oh, I don't know. You know, is it funded? What does that mean? Well, what good is a buy-sell agreement if it's not funded? Again, big place for life insurance in a buy-sell agreement. When the business is young, when the business is middle stage, when the business is older. You don't want my wife in here as your partner, and I don't want your wife as my partner, okay? Buy-sell agreements and life insurance, just them two words, just something that, you know, that people, another area where life insurance is huge. And I can't tell you how many people in Hazleton, PA that I've run into, okay, over the years. People that we all know, families that we all know, respected families that did not have this in place. And it had to cause them some disaster.
Sure.
Because if you don't have a lot of money on hand to buy out your partner, where does it come from?
It was the best thing we did, you know. I mean, thank God we didn't have to use it, but you know, you're exactly
Amen.
right. It could be a wife or a husband who has a business, etc. You know, I look at you as a smorgasbord, meaning when I go to a buffet, there's all these different things that I could choose from. But when someone walks in and you say, well, you know, I'm here for, well, what do you want? Well, maybe I don't want meat, but I want fish. Maybe I don't want fish, but I want vegetables. So that's where I think you come in, because there's so many, I remember our discussions, Blaise, when we're talking about finances, there's so many things that you have to find out about that person so you get placed them at, well, then here's what you really need. You need this.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
You can't do the job if they don't give you the information.
Yes, yeah. And that's what I think what happens is, as I started to show off saying it's trust factor, because so many people are trying to rip everybody off these days, and you don't know who to trust, okay? And in your case, you've been around, and there are people that you have that I know who are willing to say, look, I was hesitant, but after my discussion with Blaise, we had this and this, and let me tell you what the results has been. You have people that no doubt are willing to talk to people who are
lots of people.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show, Blaise.
Thank you for having me. Okay. It's always a pleasure.
I hope that with Blaise coming on today, if you're looking at doing something, give him a call, 570-401-6008. No obligation. We'll see you next time.